customer lifetime value, a controversial metric for many. Samar says there's no super clean and accurate way of figuring out the lifetime value of your customers. Who gets to decide? Shopify, your email platform, your P&L? Yes, there's a formula, there's ways of tracking it, but it's fairly tricky, especially for brands who aren't as established and have tons and years of historical data. I'm Matt Lady, your host of Cartworthy. I do e-commerce marketing at Client Boost. And today I'm back talking with Summer in episode 2 of our mini retention series. This one was interesting. When a sock brand came to Summer asking to improve their email revenue, the majority of email marketers would optimize for the wrong metric. In this episode, you're going to learn which KPI actually moves the needle for email revenue, why click-through rates are often a distraction, and the customer research insight that changes everything about who you're actually marketing to. Let's get into it. All right, Samar. So we're back again. Question number 2 in the 10-part series. This is the Socks brand. They're coming to us with a simple request. We want to improve our emails, increase our email revenue. Pretty straightforward. 2 problems. Problem 1, 50% of our customers are repeat buyers. And that's just a coincidence. They aren't doing anything extra or special to get those repeat purchases so far. Problem number 2, the majority of the customers are older, conservative white men, so you can't try anything too unique to drum up excitement. As an email strategist, which of these metrics would you optimize for first? We have 5 answers. Answer 1, average order value, customer lifetime value, email sales, click-through rate, and click-to-open rate. Walk us through it. Talk me through this one.
All right. Okay. So if it was evident from yesterday's episode or our first episode is that I'm all about the average order value, right? So the correct choice here is in optimizing for the average order value because it's easier to get your existing customers to buy from you again. Repeat customers are like the perfect segment to focus on when you're looking to increase email revenue. And the fastest way to increase email revenue is to increase your average order value. And this is one of my favorite stats to code. According to Invest, the success rate of selling to a customer you already have is 60 to 70%. Whereas if you try acquiring a new customer, it's anywhere between 5 to 20%. And I like my odds to be better rather than like make things harder for myself. And so that is the segment that I want to be focusing on first. And when it comes to like increasing sales, there's never just one thing that works, right? You have to try multiple things. It's never just like a one solution that you have to, there's never one simple solution. Let's just say that, right? You need to have a plan for your biggest segments, and that means buyers, non-buyers, and maybe even your VIP segment. For this particular brand, and because 50% of the customers are repeat buyers, I would focus on optimizing that segment first, the segment of 50% repeat buyers. And you know it, one of my favorite ways of increasing average order value is to offer bundle offers. And so for this brand, we could do like a buy 3, get 2 free. Or we could create these color coordinated bundles of 5 pairs or more. So like primary colors, pastels, just black, just navy. Every sock brand seems to have those socks where like they will have like this one line around the toes and then the heel part would have a separate color. And like people are so particular about their socks. This was actually a brand that came to me and I did all of this customer research in preparation for them. I just was so fascinated by like the customer research insights that came back. And then I would also consider putting together themes for like office parties, weddings, Christmas gifts. Those are always huge and socks are like such a safe gift, right? And then we'd create subscriptions because people lose socks all the time, even older folks, maybe especially older folks. Actually, that's not true. All of us lose socks all the time, right? Something to consider, and this is where like customer research is so important, is that for older white men who have a professional career, and when they said we have, conservative white older men, they specifically said judges and lawyers to me on the call. And so we're talking like extremely professional jobs, right? And here's an interesting insight I found. Their secretaries typically place orders for them. They're not doing it. They're not thinking about their socks. They're not thinking who they need to send somebody a gift. Their secretaries are. And so who do we really need to market to is also another question to think about, right? They're also, this particular segment of people who are wearing their socks are very particular about that little piece of cotton that peeks out between the hem of their pants and shoes, right? So folks in professions where they have to be super serious or follow like a very specific dress code, socks are also often the way they express their personality. right? Or add a little personality to their outfit. So, yes, we have judges and lawyers and financial analysts, but who's to say they don't have a sense of humor? So, they have an older audience, conservative, white males, but that doesn't mean there's no room to have fun with this brand. Our marketing doesn't need to be boring. Our bundles don't need to be boring. Our messaging doesn't need to be boring. And so I would like, I had so many ideas for them, but I don't think when they saw who I was, it didn't work out because they couldn't envision me creating like a retention strategy for a brand like this. And it makes sense. Like, not everybody has the imagination to envision something like that. And so they sent me like a really nicely worded email saying, decided to go with an agency rather than like a consultant. And I was like, fair, totally fair, right? So my answer is going to be, we need to optimize for the average order value. Now that brings us to like, why are the wrong answers the wrong answers, right? Matt, do you have any questions about that?
No, let's go through the wrong answers a little bit, and then I'll do my follow-ups.
Okay, perfect. So, customer lifetime value. I have such a huge issue with this metric. Like, to me, it seems like there's no accurate way of figuring out a lifetime value of a customer, right? Because who gets to decide the customer's lifetime? Is it the brand? Is it the ESP? Is it email marketers like you and me? Like, who does it? There's no, and yes, there's a formula, but there's no universal way of like applying that formula. We all seem to have like a different benchmark for deciding the customer lifetime value. And it's all extremely subjective, I feel. Bear in mind, this is a very controversial opinion because there are email experts and brands out there that put a lot of importance on the lifetime value of their customers, right? But based on my experience, this metric has never played a role in my strategies. Like, I would much rather focus on the average order value. I would much rather focus on like bringing back or making more sales to our existing customers. And all of that automatically contributes towards customer lifetime value. But do I want to measure it? I feel like that's a waste of my time, right? And the brand's time. We have bigger problems to solve for them, right? So the third metric was email sales. And if this is your answer, if this is the answer you thought which should be for this brand, I want to say that it shows that you're a little bit new at this email and retention stuff, right? Because I feel like I don't feel like, because it's a premature metric to focus on, it's also half a solution, I feel. As email marketers and strategists or retention experts, everything we do is designed to improve email sales, right? But how are you going to do that? And the answer always lies in that. It's so easy to say, oh, we're going to focus on email sales, but like, how are you going to increase email sales, right? We're going to do that by increasing our average order value. So why not lead with that? And that's the thing that separates like strategists from order takers. Let's just say that. And another way to approach getting to the right answer is asking yourself which metric should we optimize for first. And this was the crux of the question for this scenario, right? And in this case, the answer is average order value, which kind of brings us full circle to where we started. Increasing average order value will automatically increase your email sales. And lastly, we have click-through rates and click-to-open rates. One's better than the other, but they're both ultimately unhelpful to a brand that's trying to increase their email revenue. And when it comes to metrics like open click to rates, click to open rates, my philosophy is always to use them to diagnose a problem when there is one, rather than using them to optimize for sales. So yes, always collect that data, but don't get distracted by it, because it's so like, when teams come to me, they'll be like, oh, our click through rates are like not as good as they were 6 months ago. We're so stressed out. We've been trying different things to like improve it. Nothing's working. And I'd be like, what are your email sales like? And they'd be like, oh, they're steady. They're steady. And I'm like, then you don't need to worry. If you want to focus on like increasing your revenue and coming up with ways of increasing your average order value, that's a conversation we can have. But if your only problem is that your click-through rates are not improving despite you trying everything, you're wasting money coming to me. And so to me, those are my backup things to look at when I'm trying to diagnose, like, especially when I'm doing an audit and trying to see what's working and what's not.
Awesome. So, my follow-up time. Let's do one question at a time. So, you mentioned customer research because the question, the scenario, and you explained a bit more about the client afterwards of specifically said older conservative white men. You also started to mention their professions. How
Yes.
did they get that research, that information from their customer? And then what additional research and data and insights? So what did you do on your end to kind of dig deeper?
So my whole process when a brand comes out to me is that I will do my research on them and then I will go through like their reviews, right? I've mentioned that I love going through reviews, which is like 5-star reviews, but then also 1 and 2 star reviews. I want to see, right? And then I went to their competitors and I looked up who they were targeting, what people were saying in their 5-star and 1 and 2 star reviews, right? So even without the brand telling me, I was able to gain a lot of information. But for this brand, because I never got to work with them, I really don't know how they got that data. But I feel like brands have like a basic understanding of who's using it. And because that informs their marketing at such a big level. So I'm pretty sure they did their research when they said, well, we've got lawyers and judges and financial analysts.
Yeah, I think it's super interesting that the secretaries order for them, because that, like you said, that's a totally different message, different imagery, different like landing page experience, all that from the ad and the email side of things. It makes sense that you have to look at reviews. They didn't give you more because you don't work with them. I think one thing I want to maybe add in is post purchase survey data is another way to start collecting a few more questions, a few more data points, quantitative, qualitative. Why did you almost not purchase today? Is this for yourself or someone else? Like these little things, like is an extra thing to reference
Ab-
and kind of give you some guidance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then also
So
running campaigns, right? So if you have this hypothesis of how mostly secretaries are buying from us, why not run a campaign and see how that lands? And I feel like that's going to be an episode entirely of like my feelings about like testing and A/B testing in email because like I don't believe in A/B testing. But I do believe in testing things in email. And testing things in email will look a lot like this. Like, hey, I've got this hypothesis, I've got this idea, let's test it out. Right. And so you send out a campaign or a series of emails trying to see how like this segment that you have identified responds to your email.
this episode is brought to you by Client Boost, the marketing agency I work at. We help 7 and 8 figure brands, even all the way up to 9 figure, with Meta, Google Media buying, and creative, video, landing pages, and CRO. If you need help with any of those, reach out, clientboost.com. You get hit a free marketing plan or reach out to contact form. We'll chat with you, see if we're a good fit, see if we can help you out. Thanks. Back to the episode. Sweet. Interesting. Yeah, we have to dive into that more over the series, or like you said, a separate episode. So why someone might say, okay, but I don't need all new socks all the time. Maybe someone wants to slowly replace their set, or they just want to gift a couple or one and see if they like it first. So, how do you balance or not between optimizing for average order value versus frequency in the rate and in which they repurchase? Is that something you're considering, looking at, worrying about? Like, how do we
I would
balance that?
absolutely be thinking about that. So I would look at the VIP segment for this and I'd be like, well, what's their repurchase rate? Like how often do they come back? What's the timeline like? Because this brand didn't have a subscription. And whenever you're setting up a subscription for a brand, this is what you want to look at. I feel like repeat customers, especially the VIP ones that are regularly buying from you, will tell us a bit of what we know. But then also, everything we do is always like a testing hypothesis. It's how our audience responds to what we're offering that informs the things. You could get your subscription timing wrong. You could do like, hey, it's, like 6 months, we'll replace. We'll send you 10 new socks and you just sign up and you forget about it and you never run out of socks. And you're realizing, no, actually, people are replacing or like wanting new socks at month 3. And so change it up. I mean, there's no hard and fast rules that says you set it and you forget it and you only get one chance. And I think that's why I love the DTC world so much and retention and emails so much because it's all one big experiment to see how our audience and customers are responding to our offers and our emails and our ideas.
Yeah, it's always on, always iterative. You don't just do it once and then all right,
Yeah.
that's it, solved it. No, consumer behavior changes, markets change, your demographic of who buys may change. So okay, so following up on how do you then adjust knowing the specific customer or you're starting to target different personas? How does that change the subject line, the copy, the imagery within the actual email itself? Like how do we think about that? What would you suggest for this specific like instance?
You've asked me my favorite question. I would have so much fun with this because give me all the permission, right? So if we're like trying to see, if we're like trying to prove the hypotheses that secretaries are buying versus the people, customers themselves who are wearing them, we set up like two sets of emails, right? One would be like targeted at the judges and the lawyers and the financial analysts and people in serious professions that are typically their customers. The others would be at their secretaries, right? And so so for secretaries, it could be a fun like never let your boss's socks get snagged. And this is just off the top of my head, right? Like always have like a new pair of socks ready to go when they need it. For the lawyer side could be like, hey, you never want to be seen without socks. Or something along the fear factor of like how unprofessional it looks to have the wrong kinds of socks, or at least no socks at all. And just see how that works. Because the secretary might not be as bothered by his or her boss not wearing a pair of socks or like not having the right type of socks. But if the boss asks for a pair of socks and she doesn't have it or he doesn't have it, is when they'll really worry. And every good secretary worth their salt has like a bunch of things, right? That's in their like magic bag. And I feel like that's going to be a fun angle to play with.
Yeah, magic bag, magic drawer, what
Yeah.
supply the closet, whatever it is, they
Yeah.
got to be ready to help out. So one thing I also wanted to kind of touch on is the bundling aspect and average order value, and it's going to be a common theme, I imagine, throughout the rest of
Yes.
the episodes. But specifically for this, in this case, I just want to reiterate or maybe ask about as well, in your opinion, of but what if someone doesn't want 6 or 12 socks at once? Well, you don't just offer that. I think part of the
Yep.
bundling is the price anchoring. Like, cool,
Yes.
you have the 1 sock, 3 socks, 6 socks, and then you show the price
Yes.
difference and savings, and it's like, okay, well, one pair doesn't seem so ridiculous now. If I just want to
Yeah.
try it out, or oh, there's a new design or a new style or what have you. So I think that's a key component. People
Absolutely.
kind of
And one of the ideas I gave them was that now that we're talking about it, I'm recalling that call. And one of the things they said was that their most popular product was like a three pair box, right? And so they were like, but we want to sell more socks. And I was like, well, keep one, gift one, right? We sent you 2 boxes, you get to keep one. And so technically you're buying 6 pairs of socks, but you're keeping 3, you're gifting 3, and we're sending it to you in a packaging that you can just give as is. And so there are just, again, this is where like it goes beyond, and I'm an email strategist. So, but also it goes beyond the world of email where you're like workshopping retention strategies with brands. And I just really love, there's so many ideas to try that way. But yeah, price anchoring is an excellent way of doing it, which is why bundles and subscriptions work so well, because people are like, yeah, I'm gonna need socks. That's the one thing I wear every day to work. Might as well have it on a subscription so that I never worry about running out of socks again. Like when I was doing the reviews, and one of the reviews was like, I hate it when my socks don't feel snug anymore. And so you bet that this person was going through socks like anything. As soon as they became stretchy, they probably were like throwing them away, right? Because this person liked their socks to be snug. And so that was such an interesting insight. It's like it shows you into how many different types of people's preferences as well. So can you be everything for everyone? No. But then we can have fun with our copy angles,
yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. You probably wouldn't think of that if you had
right?
not looked at customer reviews, because that's not my personal preference for socks.
Yeah. Like I'm an ankle sock person, right? I don't care if my socks don't go above that, but that crowd of people hate socks that slide down when the elastic gets loose, right? Obviously they will, because looking smart is a requirement of their job. But it was so much fun researching that brand.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're just up here right now.
Yeah.
Just a head up. That's it. I
Yeah.
don't care about showing my socks right now. Last, maybe fun, maybe interesting follow up I had in mind was, did they sell any other products, or is it just a sock brand?
It was just a sock brand. And I asked them, why weren't they selling handkerchiefs? Because that's a set. And they were like, I don't know. And this was like a 7-figure brand. And I was like, wow. But it was one of those things that they said we were like discussing. And obviously, I don't know why it wasn't already a thing. I don't even remember. Actually, let me see if they have like, can we take 30 seconds to check?
Yeah, please.
Let me see if they've added them since then. So they have it's so funny. They have over calf, mid calf, no show socks, colors, gift boxes, still no handkerchiefs. That's so funny.
Yeah. It's that, and maybe they just haven't done enough research or don't have that
So here's the thing.
demand
One
or
of the
yeah.
things I've realized is that certain brands are doing so well, carved out a niche for themselves. 50% of their customers are repeat buyers, right? And so maybe they don't want to grow beyond a specific level that they're already at and they're comfortable. And I see that is very common in family owned brands. And this was one of them. And I was just on their website and I realized, yeah, they're a family owned brand. But their messaging is so interesting, man. And I'm calling it out because it's in front of my screen right now. Is that they're very high on like made in USA, on domestic and imported and like in they say domestic and imported yarns, right? So makes sense. Conservative crowd, made in USA is a huge deal for them. And so they're targeting an audience that would not mind paying a premium price for socks that are made in the USA.
Yeah, and so I guess when you went to the site and you started showing all these other different kinds of socks, I guess that makes more sense is like expansion to beyond just work socks. It could be
Yeah,
like workout socks, gym, hiking, casual, whatever.
yeah.
So that makes more sense to them. So any
Sweat
kind of
resistant.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I
exactly.
but yeah, it's always fun deep diving into a brand.
Yes. So okay, any last final thoughts? Anything that you want to add on? Or are we all set for this one?
We're set. But for this one, like your question was such a good one. Was like, why are they just only selling socks? What complementary products can they also sell? And that's a question brands should be asking themselves all the time, right? Especially brands that are like hyper niche, where they're only selling many types of products, but like it's all falls under one umbrella, right? So yes, 20 different types of socks, but they're all socks. What else goes with socks? And handkerchiefs and maybe even pens. Like you could do so much. You could do so much.
Yeah, and you can just test those things out. You don't have to like do a huge big bulk purchase
Yes.
order. It could be for VIP segments. You can kind of iterate your way into kind of the product expansion there. Because eventually, like they only need so many socks. Yeah, they might need
Yep.
more later in the year, next year. Or if you have
Yes.
really good quality socks, they might last forever, a very long
Yep.
time. So those people will eventually stop coming back and not buying as much. So product expansion is a key way to
Absolutely.
get them back and get that AOV up. So that's it for this one. Thanks for educating us on the socks. Next episode will be a new question, new discussion. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.
Absolutely.
Average order value beats customer lifetime value every single time for early stage brands when you're trying to increase email revenue fast. It's easier to measure, faster to optimize, and it actually drives measurable results for the brands that need it the most in the earlier stages. Thanks to Summer for breaking down why most brands focus on the wrong metrics. Seriously, personal, quick thing, not super scripted. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for the time. Really means a lot that you watched or listened to this. I want to keep improving the show. Please leave me your feedback, what topics you want to see more of. If you're interested in being a guest on the show or have a good guest recommendation, if we want to dive deep and narrow on a subtopic of ecom or D2C, for 7 to 8 figure brands, let me know in the comments. Shoot me a DM on Twitter or LinkedIn. Would really appreciate it. Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Cartworthy. Catch you on the next one.